In this video, I am going to talk about next set of interview questions related to Spring Boot. These questions are mostly conceptual based and indirectly asked to test your conceptual knowledge. So let's begin. First question. Tell me about embedded containers supported by Spring Boot. Spring Boot supports Tomcat, JT, Undertow, Netty as embedded containers. Tomcat, JT, Undertow, Netty all are servers. Tomcat, JT, Undertow are used in case of a web-based application. Netty is used if you're going for a reactive programming with Spring Boot. Next question. I want to see only fatal error warn logs in console. How can I do that? If you remember the different logging labels in Java, you have fatal, error, warn, info, debug. And if you also remember the hierarchy of these logging labels, then fatal will come the highest priority and then debug will be the lowest priority. So from fatal starting, the priority will go down to debug. So if I want to see only fatal, error and warn log, so if I set my logging label to 1, I can see the warn, error and fatal. So in Spring Boot, we have logging.label to set log labels, and we can use this logging.label in application.properties. So if I want to enable it for com.byte programming, I can write as login.label.com.byte programming equal to 1 in my application.properties. So we can see warn, error and fatal for the package com.byte programming as well as any sub package of this com.byte programming package. Moving towards next question. What is meant by relaxed binding in Spring Boot? It may happen that you have worked for Spring Boot, but you would not know the term what is meant by relaxed binding in Spring Boot. So let's suppose you want to utilize any properties present in application.properties inside your .java file. So you can use environment.property. That is one way to get that. So in my environment.property, using auto wiring of environment, I am using a key to access the key present in application.properties. So the key we use in environment property does not need to exact match of the property name. For example, if the property name is byte program, then the key could be byte program, byte hyphen program, or byte program in capital also. So this is called relaxed binding. The names should be same irrespective. It could be in a small case, it could be in camel case, or it could be separated by hyphen. Moving towards next question. How we can create custom endpoint in Spring Boot? So for a custom endpoint, we need to implement activator. So how do we add activator in my Spring Boot project? The very first thing, we need to include dependency of activator. So in case of Spring Boot 2, for creating a custom endpoint, first you need to create a custom class. So give the name of the class, let's suppose example byte programming. Then annotate the class with @component and @endpoint and pass the value subscribe byte program with ID as a key. Now @component mark your class to be a scan in component scanning and act as a bean, and the value you're passing in @endpoint annotation is usually your endpoint name. And then inside the class, you can have read, write, delete operation. So if I want to access my endpoint subscribe-byte program, I can access it through http localhost 8080/activator/subscribe byte program. Now if we can see, the subscribe byte program endpoint is under the umbrella of activator. So this was the change in Spring Boot 2, that all the endpoints are moved to the root of activator. Moving towards next question. Can you write custom endpoint? So if you see this question, it is related to the past question only, because in the past question you are able to answer how to write a custom endpoint. So as we said, we will first create a class and mark it with @component and @endpoint annotation. So here you can see I have custom subscribe endpoint class, and I have two annotations on the class level, @component and @endpoint. And inside @endpoint, I have ID as subscribe byte program. Here you can also see I have read operation, write operation, and delete operation. Moving towards next question. What is live reload server? Live reload server is provided by DevTools in Spring Boot. For adding live reload server, we need to add dependency of DevTools in pom.xml. Then the use of live reload server is it triggers browser refresh whenever resources or files in class path changes. So by the term class path means whatever the .java files or any application.properties files is present inside the package of your main Spring Boot class. So for browser refresh, you need to add live reload plugin in your browser. Moving to next question. How do I exclude static content from auto restart or reload? Now, this question tests your in-depth knowledge of DevTools in Spring Boot and also performance aspect. If you have static content, do not need to include in the restart of the server every time, because the static content does not change very much frequently. So in order to exclude static content, we have spring.devtools.restart.exclude properties. So we can use this property in my application.properties like spring.devtools.restart.exclude equal to static /*/templates **. Moving towards next question. What is the use of Spring Boot starter parent? So if you have created a project in Spring Boot, by default Spring Boot starter parent is added in the parent tag in pom.xml. But have you ever wondered what is the use of Spring Boot starter parent? You can see my video Secrets of Spring Boot project to have much more knowledge on the project structure of Spring Boot, and the link is coming on top right corner. But to answer this question right now, we can say Spring Boot starter parent provides UTF-8 encoding. So it is a minor functionality. The main functionality of Spring Boot starter parent is repackaging of the jar and make it an executable jar. So what is meant by repackaging of the jar? If you run mvn clean install package in a Spring Boot project, if you have noticed, you have two jars present inside target folder. Now these two jars would be like, for example, if my Spring Boot application name is Byte programming, then jar would be like Byte programming -0.0.1 dot jar, Byte programming -0.0.1 dot original dot jar. Now Byte programming -0.0.1 dot jar is an executable jar, but Byte programming -0.0.1 dot original dot jar contains only dot classes file. It is not an executable jar. Moving towards next question. My project has a custom parent in parent tag. How can I add a Spring Boot parent in pom.xml? It may happen that your enterprise or real-time project already utilizes parent tag in pom.xml. Now in such case, if you want to add your Spring Boot parent dependency, how could you add? Because it is a parent dependency. For adding Spring Boot parent in pom.xml, if the parent tag is already occupied, use dependency management section. So in pom.xml, create a dependency management tag, enclosing and closing tag, and inside this dependency management tag, you have several dependencies. So create a dependency tag, again closing and enclosing, and inside this dependency, provide the group ID, artifact ID, and version of the Spring Boot startup parent you are going to use. If you want to have a verification, try to use Spring Cloud in your project, because Spring Cloud is under a different parent tag. So inside parent tag, you have a Spring Boot startup parent, and in the dependency management section, you have a Spring Cloud tag. Moving towards next question. Have you done caching in Spring Boot? Yes, I have done caching in Spring Boot. I have done through annotation based as well as use of clients like Redis as well Redis. And for caching, the preferred DB is Redis due to its high performance. Moving towards next question. Why use cache in Spring Boot? Now this is a kind of architectural question. So if you know the concept why we use cache, you can easily answer to this question. So to increase performance and reduce latency in returning response, we use cache. For example, a request without cache will take to give response in about 160 milliseconds. The same request with cache will give the response in 30 milliseconds. So if you see, the time difference without cache and with cache is too much. How you have implemented annotation based cache? Implementation of annotation based cache is very simple. So you can say, yes, I have implemented annotation based cache. I have used enable caching at the Spring Boot main application class level and different annotations like cacheable, cache put, cache evict for caching. So this cacheable is used For a GET request, if you want to update something, you can use cache put, or if you want to put the response in cache, use cache put. If you want to delete something from the cache, use cache evict. So these four are the common annotation used in cache. Moving towards next question. Do you know profiling in Spring Boot? Yes, I know profiling in Spring Boot. It is used to load different configurations based on environment. It can be done through annotation like @profile, and inside @profile pass the environment name. A specific environment application.properties like application-dev, application-prod, then trigger a specific profile using spring.profiles.active equal to dev, or using VM argument -d spring.profiles.active equal to dev. You can also set programmatically by implementing web application initializer and overriding startup method, and inside startup you can use key value pair. But mostly either we can do through passing of virtual argument, or in my application or properties I can use spring.profile.active, and based on the environment name I can trigger a specific environment application.properties. But remember, this is related to only Spring Boot. In case of microservice, we do not prefer storing the frequent changing configuration with the code. Moving towards next question. I have 4 environment and I want my Spring Boot application to run on different servers port in each environment. How can we do that? So if you know profiling in Spring Boot, you can easily answer this question. So instead of directly asking what is profiling in Spring Boot, interviewer can also make an indirect route to ask about what is profiling. Again, the same thing. Create application-properties for different environment. For example, application-dev.properties, application-qa.properties, application-prod.properties. Use server.port in each specific environment application properties. So in case of application-dev, I can write server.port equal to 8082. In case of application-prod.properties, I can write server.port equal to 8084 and so on. And then trigger a specific profile using spring.profiles.active. For example, spring.profiles.active equal to dev will trigger application-dev.properties. And whatever the server.port is inside application-dev.properties will be used to run your Spring Boot application. Why use @transaction annotation? Now this question will test how much you know about annotations. So @transaction annotations provides abstraction of transaction creation, commit, and rollback. To create a transaction, we'll do like this: byte transaction, for example, byte transaction byte trx equal to entity manager dot get transaction. So we get the transaction from the entity manager and stored in a reference variable, say byte trx. Now with the use of byte trx, we will create transaction begin byte trx.begin, then implement the logic and commit the transaction. So for committing, we use byte trx.commit. Now all this begin and commit of the transaction we do in try block. So in case my transaction failed before the commit is done properly, in the catch block, we roll back the transaction using byte.trx.rollback. So if you see the text in the bold letter, that is get transaction, begin, commit and rollback, all this boilerplate code that is used for the creation of the transaction, commit and rollback based on failure, this all is provided to you by @transaction itself. So on a method, just use @transaction and everything that is done by creating this step will be available to you. Moving towards next question. I want my bean to execute and take more priority over auto configuration. Is it possible? By default, Spring Boot tries to auto configure everything based on what you put in your class path. So that is why it is called an opinionated view also. But it may happen sometime. I want my Java configuration to be explicitly executed and take more priority over auto configuration. In order to do, we have @conditional on missing bin provided to us. So we can write @bin @conditional on missing bin and the method. So Spring Boot questions is a method name and of type Byte programming. Moving to next question. Have you done unit testing in Spring Boot? And if you have done, how? Yes, you have done unit testing in Spring Boot, and for unit testing you have used combination of JUnit or Mockito or TestNG plus Mockito. We prepare mock objects and test each layer like controller, service and repository. For preparation of mock objects, you can use Mockito framework. So if you have answered this question successfully, there could be further questions like how you have tested the controller, what kind of things you have kept in mind while testing the controller layer, how you have tested the service, how you have tested the repository. But all these things like testing of the service, repository and controller, we will look in a separate video. Till this point of time, this was all about interview questions related to Spring Boot. Subscribe and stay tuned to get notification about more Spring Boot, microservice, Java, cloud upcoming videos.